down on the screen, the sort of world or globe, and then you
Yes.
can listen in English.
Cool.
And vice versa, I think, as well.
Okay, Zeki-Can says you can go.
Okay.
Cool.
O zaman
hello everyone, this is 𝘠𝘩𝘳 and
Simon.
hi from London. We are really transnational this time,
Yeah.
everywhere. Welcome to fourth closing talk, Carousel conversation of Through the Window. We just had and still the frame of anger and justice, and our beloved 30 artists. We created 29 magnificent and powerful works for this iteration, and we are going to have a bit of talks with some of them, explaining their work and why and how they created those works. And yeah, the mic is on you, darling.
Thank you, 𝘠𝘩𝘳. Okay, so live from London, right here, right now, both on YouTube and on Zoom. Thank you so much for being here. So indeed, it's 𝘠𝘩𝘳 at the closing party. I would say the opening party. You know, all different languages, different terms for similar things. So today is the launch of the exhibition of Through the Window 4. As 𝘠𝘩𝘳 mentioned, with the theme Anger and Justice. And for those who are new to Through the Window started at the beginning of the pandemic, which was, if you do not remember, you're very lucky, March 2020. And while nightlife was closing down, art spaces were closing down, specifically for queer artists and queer nightlife workers, we started Through the Window in order to access funding for queer nightlife workers and queer makers. After a first year, we were very lucky with Prins Claus Fund getting in touch with us, Dilara, who's here tonight, working with us on getting a better funded Through the Window starting. And we've been doing that ever since. So this is our fourth iteration. And basically Through the Window, each iteration hosts 2 conversations and an exhibition and online parties. And so that's what we're here for. Last year was the first time that we launched the exhibition. So that is today, right? You might have seen the works online at Through the Window Project on Instagram, and now also on our website, which is the first time. The last year was the first time that we invited several artists who have contributed to the exhibition to share more about the work. And we really, really love that. So that's what we continue doing. We have 29 works this year. Artists who are in the Netherlands, artists who are in Turkey, and artists who are everywhere, specifically through the Seed Awards from Prins Claus Fund. And you will see tonight several of those artists. I'm not going to pre-name all of those just to keep it exciting, but also because we do not for sure know if everybody is going to make it who I have here on the schedule because of life issues and internet issues and ferries that are not arriving in time, etc., etc. But tonight we will begin with Juan Rodriguez. And I'm very happy to welcome Juan in. In the meantime, if you are in the audience, you might be on YouTube, you might be on Zoom, and you feel like you have a question, we would love to hear from you. So do type those in the chat, or if you're in Zoom, you can also unmute. And yeah, please stay with us because later we will dance after our conversation. That good?
That sounds perfect.
interpretations.
Amazing. Thank you, 𝘠𝘩𝘳, here as my sidekick on the couch. So for interpretation, some of us will speak English, some of us will speak Turkish. If you need interpretation, you can go to the globe on the low bar in your Zoom. And click on that, and then you can say listen in original audio, English, Turkish, And if you click, for example, for me, that would be in Turkish, I will hear the simultaneous translation when somebody is speaking in Turkish. All right. And if you have questions, again, you can drop them in the chat and we will try to answer them aptly. Juan, I would love to ask you, as our first speaker tonight, welcome.
Thank you so much.
Hi. Would you be willing to share something about who you are as a maker and yeah, how you got here?
Yes, my name is 𝘮𝘬𝘕 and I am a Brazilian filmmaker, also a 2022 CD awardee, and I started doing films back in 2015 when I first got into college, the film school, and my films, they started out as a way for me to see Black bodies on screen in a way that I haven't seen before. It was like a personal project that it took a turn when in 2016 my brother was murdered, and that grieving process led me to make another movie that kind of gave me a small notoriety, and I won some awards, and you know, I did some stuff with what was given to me, and yeah, the project that I worked on here was made in how can I say, it was another trauma project because it was about back in March 16th, I was kidnapped by a gang who thought I was going to their town to rob, which was a mistake, and I was kept by them and tortured psychologically and physically until they realized that I was the wrong person. And the movie kind of changed to what it was previously. It was like kind of about love, and it turned out to be about learning what love is, and especially for Black queer people. And yeah, I'm 32 years old, and I've been making films on my own, like with very little support throughout these years, and that's it. That's who I am.
Thank you so much for sharing that. In regards to the film, how do you feel like love and anger relate, right? Because if I translate the title of your film, and I'm not sure if I'm supposed to, I just literally used the translate button on Instagram.
Yeah.
It says, why didn't they teach Bixas Black how to love?
Yeah, it would be like kind of Black queens, Black faggots.
Yeah.
Like, it's a slur for for being a gay here in Brazil, bicha. And it's important for me to use it because it's a way to take control of the term, you know, own it, and you know, because that's who I am, who we are as a community. That's how I prefer, and I know people who prefer to be called as bicha preta because that's who we are. You know, we took the term that was meant to hurt us and we reversed it to empower our existence, you know. And through your question about love and anger, it's very it's interesting because they seem to walk side by side when we talk about Black queer love or just queer love, because love should be free, you know, for everyone to experience, and still we have to fight so hard to just be and to be loved and to love, and it's a very aggravating feeling, you know, that I can't express my love the way that I want, and it's very aggravating. Really, it makes me angry to be in a situation where I had to learn through trauma what love is and what love meant to me and to people close to me.
And earlier when you said this is another trauma project, for you, was it a sort of conscious choice to make the focus be on love as opposed to kind of like the intertwinement in that sense of anger and love, or even trauma and love, right? Like, but simultaneously, like when you call it a trauma project, but there is this question of like searching for love or like what it means to love. That also almost, but this might be a completely wrong interpretation, but it almost leads me to think that there's a step away from, not away from anger, but the film focuses somehow then more on love. Does that make sense if I'm saying it like this?
No, it makes sense, but it's a shame that I haven't had the time to put the subtitles because right after I describe the experience that I had, you know, the trauma of being kidnapped, I talk about how hard and how difficult and how cruel it is to be in a situation where it's how we learn how to live, you know, through trauma. Black people live through trauma since the birth, you know, and it's something that it makes me angry. You know, I shouldn't have been talking about why didn't they teach us how to love. I should be talking about how great it is to love, or you know, but the project became a trauma project because I was mad, you know, I was angry because of the injustice, not only because of what I went through, but because it's a system that was made to make me feel smaller, and that I'm not as a small person, you know, I don't have a small mind, I you know, and the people that took me, they took me because the police did their work, you know. There were people going to the town to rob, and the gangs took to their own hands the work to, you know, get the person, you know. They took the wrong person, that was me, and later I found out that they took the people that were doing it, and they killed them. And you know, that's very upsetting because it could be me, you know. And I don't know, it's it's it's hard because when I first thought about the movie, it was truly about fighting and, you know, finding the justice to love, and it became uh kind of I don't know how to say it, but it's just it was difficult to translate the anger that I was feeling to the project, even though it talks about love, you know. It's an angry form of loving, if I can put it that way.
That makes a lot of sense. Do you, since we're looking at the work right now,
Yeah.
you want to share a little bit about your visual or aesthetic choices in like this exploration of love?
Of course, the the the audio, you know, the text that what I'm saying in the video, it's a dark subject, you know. It's a heavy subject. It's very upsetting, you know. But I wanted to make it lighter somehow, because these are recordings that I made when I was traveling with 𝘮𝘂𝘶, which was my boyfriend, and it's just a position of happy moments and the trauma moment, you know. The audio, it's completely different from what we see, and the VHS aspect of it's something that I enjoy very much, because for me it's kind of like looking at the past of a memory, you know. And they are memory, but the real deal, you know, filming, like playing, you know, with a camera that's not that doesn't have that texture, it didn't felt right to me. So I wanted to take it to this recording memories aspect of it, and editing was very challenging because there were some very interesting images that didn't make the cut because they didn't speak with what I was saying. So that was it. I wanted to make a memory kind of film, a road movie, but with memories, and VHS gives me that feel of memory because I grew up on VHS, you know, so it felt kind of fitting to use them.
Yeah, it definitely has an incredible nostalgic
Yeah.
to it, which almost also makes it somewhat innocent. As a last question to you before we invite Okeanis in, Juan, what did it give you to make this work, if it gave you anything at all?
It gave me strength, I would say, to not only continue what I'm doing, but just a driving force, you know, because 𝘮𝘀𝘳𝘰𝘶, which was the artist that I picked with the chain system, he is an artist, and the work that he did, which is called Tamba, Symphony of the Unseen, were kind of a challenge, and it took me. I edited his film as well, and it is so different from mine that it was a very interesting challenge, you know, to work on something that I haven't worked before, which is a historical documentary, which is something that I particularly I don't normally do. My films are mostly about the queer Black experience through my own experience, to my own life, and you know, it's just that feeling, you know, of surviving and being alive, and still being very angry, and a sense of social justice that just doesn't leave my body, you know. I was born to it, you know, as a Black person. I was born to it, and that's what I hope to continue doing, you know. If given the chance of continue to being alive, that's what I want to do, you know.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
There's a difficulty to this structure, which is that we're now switching, kind of, but I hope that within the sort of gaps between the different works, some form of conversation in terms of energy, or in forms of like some residue of what still could be discussed can live. So thank you so much, Juan, for now. And then
You're
I would
welcome.
love to invite Okeanis in to share.
Kübra. Sesim geliyor mu?
Yes, yes, yes. Go ahead.
Ya ben konuşabilir miyim? Her an bilgisayar kapanabilir de şarjım çok az.
Okay, sorry, I had to hear the translation. Parmihan, yes, of course, if that's okay. Okeanis, are you cool with that? Yes. All right. So let's invite you in, Parmihan. Are you there?
Parmihancığım, duyuyor musun?
Evet, duyuyorum. Geliyor değil mi benim sesim? Kız buraya mı konuşuluyordu?
Yes, we can hear you.
Duyuluyor değil mi? Umarım.
Bir tık fazla konuşabilirsin Pamira. Biz bir tık sesli.
Okay. Şu an iyi geliyor mu? Şu an ses.
We can
Kesintili
hear you right
geliyor.
now. Yes.
İstiyorsanız ben başlayabilirim. konuşmak için. Çünkü bilgisayarım kapanabilir. Vapurdayım.
Yes, Parmehan, if you would want to share something about you, where you are right now, I think on a ferry, and who you are as an artist, and maybe also 𝘰𝘳𝘠 will start in your work. So if you want to share a little bit about your work, that would be really wonderful. Thank you.
Ay birisi Türkçe'ye çevirsin lütfen ya. Ağlayacağım yoksa.
Pamirhan, oradan tercüme seçeneğinden tıklarsan tercüme var şu an.
Hocam, Simon işinden ve neleri düşünerek bu işi ürettiğinden ve kendinden
Hı hı.
bahs.
Okey. Ben Pamirhan. İstanbul'da çalışıp üretimlerimi devam ettiriyorum. Marmara Üniversitesi'nde okuyorum. Resim bölümündeyim. Ve aslında bu 𝘮𝘪𝘏 tarafından öfke ve adalet konusunun gelmesi, yani tarafıma gelmesi beni çok fazla heyecanlandırdı. Çünkü aslında benim çalıştığım konular da tam bu konular üstüne ve aktivist sanat, muzip sanat ve travmatik olayları ve travmatik şeyleri nasıl eğlenceli ve muzip şekilde gösterebileceğimi araştırıyordum aslında. Bu da benim için aslında çok iyi bir fırsat oldu. Öfke ve adalet konusu bağlamında aslında ülkemizde ve dünyada bulunan kapitalizme ve queer özneler üstünde oluşan baskıları, aslında bu iki şey böyle harmanlayıp bir şeyler yapmak istedim. Tekrardan belirtiyorum, öyle travmatik ve creepy olayları eğlenceli anlatmayı sevdiğimden dolayı böyle bir şey yaptım. Ve aslında bu işin çıkış noktası bir İstanbul'a gelmemden başlıyor aslında. Yani 3 sene önce ben İstanbul'a geldim. Ve 3 seneden beri aslında bu şehrin kişileri, ne olursa, kim olursa olsun nasıl yuttuğunu ve katlettiğini anlatıyor. Fakat bundan nasıl sağa çıkabiliriz de birazcık anlatıyor oyunsal bir dille. Bu şekilde bunlardan bahsedebilirim.
You say and I translate.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I'm sorry for all the technical difficulties. I was especially fascinated by the different images and how, when you said that you wanted to present lightness, this for me at least came really across in the colors. Maybe it's great to just hear a little bit more if we go image by image,
Yeah.
what we see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pamirhancığım, ışık ve hani renkler
Anlayamadım.
sen de istiyorsan gördüğümüz kareler üzerine konuşmak istediklerini, söylemek istediklerini söyle.
Resim bağlamında mı? Ya açıkçası bir resmi anlatmanın ya da böyle detaylı detaylı anlatmanın ben bir resmi ya da herhangi bir sanat ürününü katlettiğini düşünüyorum. Yani canlı renkler kullanmamın sebebi ve iskelet figürlerini kullanmamın sebebi trajik şeyleri komik göstermek ve eğlenceli olmak. Yani tamamıyla dalga geçmek aslında bir nevi. Bundan bahsedebilirim. Yani bunu söyleyebilirim bunun üstüne. Bu renkler ve bu oyunsal hava üstüne bunları söyleyebilirim.
And what was it? Since you said in the beginning that anger is and that this theme was so important to you, what is it that making this work has given you?
Öfke üzerinden de düşündüğünde bu işle ilgili yani düşünerek resmettin. Temamızın özüne aldığımızda resmederken canım.
Orayı duyamadım. Tekrar söyleyebilir misiniz?
Öfkeyi
Ülke üstünden dedim.
merkezimize aldığımızda işi kurgularken, resmederken neleri düşündün?
Hı hı. Ya öfkeyi kurgularken ülkede bulunan iktidar gücünü düşündüm ve iktidarın üstümüzde barındırdığı bu kontrolcü ve tahakkümcü yapısı, özgürlük alanlarımızın tamamıyla bitiyor olması ve yani tamamıyla aslında özneleri katlediyor olması üstüne düşündüm bu hükümetin. Evet, bunu söyleyebilirim.
Is there anything else that you would like to add? Sorry to cut you a little short, but it's a bit difficult technically. Yeah.
Başka söylemek istediğin bir şey var mı işinle, üretiminle?
Teşekkür ederim.
Sorunlar yaşıyoruz. Kusura bakma eğer böyle kısa kesiyoruz gibi hissettiriyorsa ama.
Evet, ben özür dilerim. Ben özür dilerim. Şu anda vapurdayım maalesef. Pek rahat konuşamıyorum. Ama dediğim gibi tamamıyla bir seyirciye aslında bulunduğumuz yani Türkiye coğrafyasından bahsediyorum. Bu coğrafyada bulunan sorunları ve trajik olayları böyle oyun alanı üstüne sunmak istedim. Kısaca bunu söyleyebilirim.
Yeah. I think the work is really wonderful, and like you said yourself, speaks for itself in many ways. So thank you so much for joining us from the boat, but I also understand that it's hard to speak from where you are currently. And I really encourage everybody who's listening in to look at your work.
Teşekkür ederiz
Thank
Pamela
you.
Hanımcığım.
Thank you.
İş zaten gereğinden fazla çıkıyor. Teşekkür ediyoruz.
All right. Thank you, Parmihan, and safe travels. Okeanis, are you there?
Yes, I am here. But I speak Turkish, please.
Duyuyor muyuz okyanusu?
İsterseniz sunumu yansıtabilirsiniz ve ben de başlayabilirim. Evet. Simon, istiyorsan soru sorabilirsin ya da direkt olarak girebilirim. Benim için fark etmez.
If you want to go ahead. So Okeanis, also for you, it's first of all, it's really lovely to see you again. Okeanis had a great pleasure of meeting last year in Istanbul. And I even got gifted a wonderful work by you, a portrait. And I would like to ask you, Okeanis, as well, if you want to introduce who you are and where you are, what your practice is, and if you want to share some about the work that you shared with us for Through the Window.
Tabii ki ben İzmir'de yaşayan ve İzmir'de okuyan bir genç sanatçıyım. Dönemsel olarak İstanbul'a geliyorum. Seninle de geldiğim vakitte kitap lansmanında, senin kitabın lansmanında denk geldik ve çok güzel bir birliktelikti. Çok teşekkür ediyorum tekrardan. Pardon. Bir yandan da sergi dolayısıyla gidiyorum, geliyorum. Online olarak var olmaya çalışıyorum. Yarı zamanlı olarak da. Böyle söyleyebilirim kendimle alakalı kısa bir bilgi olarak. Yeterli mi peki? Biraz heyecanlıyım.
Yes. So what I vividly remember, Okeanis, from your presentation last year, you spoke about memory you spoke about different portraits that you had of your own biological family, and the ways in which you disrupted those photographs of family. You made them leak. You made them with stains. The sort of the image of the perfect family portrait was kind of disrupted by painting over it. Of course, this is a summary, but I very much remember how you work with this question of memory, and even maybe resonating back Juan's work with the VHS, right, video, so the nostalgic form, playing with the nostalgia, breaking it, but also kind of reproducing that sentiment and the attachments to nostalgia or to old images. In this one, can you describe to us, I mean, maybe just looking at the screen, what are we seeing? Why are we seeing what you portrayed? And what did anger and justice bring for you as a theme?
Tabii ki seninle tanıştığım zaman İstanbul Bienalinin çalışma ve araştırma programı için İstanbul'a taşınmıştım. Ve 9 aylık bir sürenin içerisindeydim aslında o dönemde. Ve aslında hayatımda ilk kez ailemin evi dışındaki başka bir lokasyona taşındım. Ve hikaye burada başlıyor. Tek başıma ayakta kalmaya çalışmam, onlar evden gitmem. Ve bir yandan da ev sorunuyla yüzleşmem. İstanbul'daki kira artışı ya da Lübnanlıları ve öteki kimlikli olan insanların ev bulmakta zorlanışı ile alakalı çok sarsıcı bir dönem yaşamıştım. Bir süre evsiz kaldım falan. Aslında bu seride biraz onunla bağlantılı bir şey. Evini, yurdunu aradığın, bir yandan da o bulma yolunda küçük küçük kalp kırıklıkları yaşadığım bir seri diyebilirim. İlk resmi benim portrem, evet. Portrenin ismi dolayısıyla o gün çok kötü bir gündü benim. Sanırım 31 Temmuz ismi, geç akşamı. 31 Temmuz'da evim diyebileceğim anneannemi kaybettim 2 sene önce. Ve geçen sene de İstanbul'da olduğum zaman diliminde de ilk aşkımın evlendiği haberini aldım. Ve böyle bir anda dedim ki ben bu geceyle alakalı bir şey yapmalıyım. İstanbul'da tek başımayım. Ne yapacağımı bilmiyorum. Hüngür hüngür ağlamışım falan. Ve sonrasında öfkelendim. Şeye öfkelendiğimi hatırlıyorum. Toplumsal rollere, düzene, o ailenin içinde kendimi bulamamama. Ama bir yandan da çok içinde olmama, istemediğim şekilde o ailenin içinde olmama. O yüzden bu ilk portre serisi ortaya çıktı. Hüngür hüngür ağladıktan sonra 5 metrekarelik bir odada ben gibi diyebilirim. Onun dışında ikinci resime geldiğimizde de 6 ay boyunca kaldığım ilk evimin, ilk odamın bir yatak odası görseli var. Çiçeklerle neden bağlantılıyım diye sorarsak biraz kendimi dalından koparılan bir çiçeğe benzetiyorum. Dışarıdan güzel görünen ama sırf güzel bulunduğu için rızası olmadan dalından koparılıp bir köşeye atılan, bir yandan da yalnız başına yerini yurdunu bulmaya çalışan bir çiçek gibi. İstanbul süresinden önce de sokakta çiçek fotoğrafları çekmeye başladım ve bununla alakalı büyük bir serim oldu artık. Bir yandan da sahipsiz çiçekleri toparlayıp onları nasıl daha iyi bir yere götürebilirimi düşünmeye başladım ve bunlar ortaya çıktı diyebilirim. Bir yandan da o evin yıkıntı görüntüsü, pis görüntüsü de ilgimi çekiyordu. Çünkü çoğumuza sunulan hayat bu ve bu hayatın içinde var olmaya çalışıyoruz. İkinci görsel için bunu söyleyebilirim. Üçüncü görsel için de doğal gaz borusunun üzerine bağlanmış bir çiçek demeti var. O da salonda bulunan bir şeydi aslında. Eve ilk geldiğimde salonda gördüğüm ilk şey oydu yani. Birçoğumuzun hayatı da böyle gibi. Bir yerlere tutunmaya, toprağa tutunmaya ve orada yaşamaya çalışıyoruz. Ama bu süreçte oldukça zor. Karışık anlattıysam özür dilerim. Kafan karıştığı bir yer varsa kesinlikle sorabilirsin ve daha da açabilirim. Pardon. Diğer görsel için de şunu söyleyebilirim. Bu da birazcık o sevgilinin yok oluşu, gidişi, bir nevi ölüşü aslında. E, Onu anmakla alakalı bir şey. Biraz romantik şeylerim var. Özür dilerim buradan. Sorabilirsin yani. Benim diyeceklerim bu kadar şu an.
I like the romantic, honestly. Juan has posed a question. I think that's great to bring in. Juan is saying, I'm finding it very interesting how trauma is connecting our narratives, the horror of it, how universal pain and anger can be. Maybe less of a question, but Juan's comment makes me think kind of about the romance of trauma specifically, right? Maybe even going back also to Juan's work, the nostalgia again. You were saying like this first lover that died, there is an attachment to the pain. Would you say that that is true for you? Like also in, you know, like the that are tied to the heating pipe or gas pipe. There's a kind of loneliness, but there's also this feeling of the gaze, by having the gaze as in like the eyes gaze, not the gaze, the gaze, yeah. Focusing on that lonely object, there's some like level of identification, but there's also this feeling of romantic attachment to the pain that is being portrayed. Does that resonate with you at all?
Evet var. Çok fazla şey söyledim. Bir anda kafam karıştı ama toparlayabildiğim kadarıyla söyleyeceğim. Yaptığım çalışmalarda genellikle bölümlere ayırıyorum, hayatımdaki bölümlere ve bu çalışmalarda o anki bölümde geçmişle bağlantılı bir şeydi. Bir yandan da evet, o bakışlar aslında geride bıraktığı şeye bakıyor. Yani tam olarak ben de bilmiyorum neden oraya baktığımı hatırlamıyorum şu an ama böyle diyebilirim. Tam cevaplayamadıysam özür dilerim. Çok uzun bir soruydu çünkü.
I guess what my question would be is how romance, since you were apologizing for the romanticness of your story, how romance influences your relationship to suffering or the portrayal of pain.
Ee, Biraz böyle şey gibi hissediyorum bu birleşme noktasında. Yalnızlıkta birleşiyor bence. Acı ve romantizm bir anda yalnız olma durumuyla ve o gerçeklikle baş etme yöntemiyle alakalı. Yani biraz evet, ben korkuyla ilgilenen bir insanım ve İstanbul Bienalindeki programa da korku sinemasıyla alakalı bir kavramla girmiştim ve bunun üzerine çalışmıştım. Biraz benim en büyük korkularımdan biri evsiz kalmak, sokakta kalmak ve bunu da yaşamıştım o süreçte. Ee, Korkuyla yüzleşmek de böyle bir şey benim için. Öyle.
Thank you so much, Okeanos. I would like to invite 𝘮𝘰𝘶𝘬𝘦 in.
Hello. Nasılsınız?
Hello.
Çok Türkçe konuşacağım. İngilizce konuşmayı ben de isterdim ama şu an gerçekten kafamı ana dilimde bile toplamam gerçekten zor. Ee, Yani ben de direkt eserimi anlatmaya çalışmayacağım da kendi sanatta çıkış yolculuğumdan kısaca bahsedeceğim ve bu eseri yaparken başıma neler geldi, neleri düşündüm bunları anlatacağım. Sonrasında da geçtiğimiz haftamdan böyle birkaç küçük örnekle böyle bu sanatın, bu projenin tam olarak nasıl hala bende sürdüğünü ifade etmeye çalışacağım. Trigger warning vermek istiyorum öncelikle. Polis şiddeti, işte çocuğa yönelik şiddet ve son zamanlarda annemin başına gelen ciddi sağlık sorunu hakkında. Bunların hiçbirini grafikleştirmeyeceğim. Özellikle polis şiddeti ve çocuğa yönelik şiddeti. O yüzden yani sadece hani hikayemde bunlar da geçecek diye bilin istiyorum başta. Ben kendimi hiçbir zaman ressam olarak düşünmemiştim. Ressam olarak bir şeyler yapmaya başlamam, yani daha doğrusu boyayla, mürekkeple tanışmam 2020'de polis şiddetine uğradıktan sonra pandemiyle de birlikte garip bir şekilde çoğunlukla kendine bakabilen bir insan değilim. Hatta sorumsuz bir insanım yani. Yani kendini beslemek bile zor bir şeyken benim için gündelik hayatta. 2020'de hem polis şiddeti üzerine işte hem de romantik ilişkimde de problem yaşıyordum. Bir de üzerine pandemi gelince bende bir şey değişti zihnimde ve hani bir şey yapmalısın yoksa iyi gitmeyecek bu süreç için gibi ve içimden bir şey kendi kontrolümü ele aldı. Ve bu resimde böyle daha büyük olarak gördüğümüz figürler, biricikler dediğim şeyler benim bu dönemimi temsil eden şeyler. Sonrasında da bir sene sonrasında resme falan devam ederken doodle tarzı bir şeyler denemeye başladım. O zamanlarda da partnerimin yüksek lisansa gitme ihtimali vardı ve ben de 3 yıldır görmediğim bir kardeşim vardı Almanya'da yaşayan. Hem yani yurt dışına çıkabildiğimi kendime kanıtlamak. Çünkü yarın öbür gün partnerim yurt dışına giderse ben de arada onu ziyaret edebilmek isterdim. Hem de yani çocukluğumuzdan beri ailemizin bize sunduğu ortam dolayısıyla böyle rekabet içinde büyüdüğüm kardeşimle pandemi zamanında kurmaya başladığımız o değişik ilişkiyi pekiştirmek istiyordum. Bu iki sebeple vize başvurularına yaptım. Reddedildim. Ülkeme döneceğime dair yeterli inandırıcı sebepler olmadığı için. Ve bu doodle kısımları da benim işte o vizeyi beklediğim süreçleri, işte oradaki adaletsizliği, sonuçta benim en temel haklarımdan biri seyahat hakkım. Gidip ailemi yaşadığı yerde gözlemleyebilme hakkım. Ailemde olmak zorunda değil. Sevdiğim bir insan varsa bu yeterlidir. Bunların engellenişine dair o kırgınlıklarımı, kızgınlıklarımı, dışlanmış hissedişimi o doodle'larda hani büküp yaptım. Dışarıya sağlıklı bir şekilde yansıtmaya başladım. Sonrasında biricik seksüel hesabı kapandı. Bu arada bu çizimlerimi ben yazılarımla birleştirip Instagram'da paylaşıyordum. Ve orada da bir adaletsizliğe uğruyordum açıkçası. Hani böyle ırkçılığı, yabancı düşmanlığını promote eden siteler böyle yani korkunç şakalar bilmem neler bu kadar sansüre uğramazken işte bilmiyorum hala neden kapatıldığını ama cinsellikten bahsetmek, kadınların güçlenmesinden, empower olmasından bahsetmek. Çünkü sanırım tam post üzerine kapandı. Önce 𝘗𝘩𝘕𝘦𝘵𝘩𝘦𝘵 bir sözünü paylaşmıştım. İşte şöyle bir söz var Türkiye'de. İşte orospu mahalle yanarken saçını tarar diye bir deyim var. 𝘗𝘩𝘕 de bunu çok güzel özetler. Yani mahalle yanarken saçını tarayan bir orospu hiç görmedim ama orospu yanarken hiç bok yapmayan mahalleli çok gördüm diye. Ve bunun üzerine kapandığını düşünüyorum. Bunları da geçiyorum. Bu sürede resme bir ara verdim ve işte teşekkür ederim Kübra benim projeye dahil ettiği için o noktada. Tekrar böyle paleti açıp işte çocukluğumdaki o mürekkepten bulduğum şeylerle bir kere daha yüzleşmeye alan açtı benimle. Çünkü benim çocukluğumda hep öfkeli bir çocuk olarak adlandırılıyordum ben. Öfkeli görülüyordum. Ama benim öfkeli oluşum, mesela çığlık attığım için psikoloğa
Hmm.
götürüldüm. E, Psikoloğa götürüldüm mesela çığlık atıyorum diye. Ama o çığlıklarım şeydi, hani düzensiz bir ilgi alan bir çocukluk, bir anda sevgi üzerine karmaşık fikirler edinen bir çocuk ve şiddete uğrayan bir çocuk. Onun bir yardım çığlığıydı ama ben psikoloğa götürülüyordum gibi bir yerden. Ben ailemle son 3-4 aydır kopuk bir ilişki içerisindeydim. Çünkü bu benim sürecimde. Çocukluğumda yaşadığım şeyleri, terapiye de gidiyorum bir yandan. Ortaya çıktıkça bazen bu insanlara karşı biraz mesafe alabiliyorsunuz. Gel gelelim ki ben bu resmi teslim ettim vesaire. Geçen Perşembe annemin beyin kanaması geçirdiğine dair bir haber aldım. Ve sanki o pandeminin en başında kontrolü ele alan Özgür gibi, yine biricik gibi. Yani farklı biri kontrolü ele aldı tekrar ve ya bu benim için travmatize edici bir süreç olmadı. Ya da şöyle söyleyeyim. Yani tabii ki bu travmatize edici bir olay olabilir ama bu sanatçılık sürecimde çok iyi kavradım. Gerçekliği, gerçekliğin koşullarıyla kabullenmek, insanı gerçekten bir adım öteye gidebilmek için kendini sağaltmasını sağlıyor. İçindeki öfkeyi, kızgınlığı veya neyse geçmişe dair kırgınlığı. Ve yani tam da bu projeden aldığım parayla vesaire oraya gittim ve böyle bir süreç yaşadım ve insanların ölüme veya böyle şeylere, ciddi sağlık sorunlarına karşı yaklaşımlarını gözlemlemek gerçekten iyi oldu ve sanki bu proje benim için 2 haftadır böyle sürmeye devam ediyor gibi. Tam olarak bu resmi yaparken zaten annemi düşünüyordum. Aramızdaki mesafeyi düşünüyordum. Ona hani hep diyorum görüştüğümüzde, evet geçmişteki sen farklı biriydi ve şu an bundan pişman olduğunu biliyorum. Ama öfkelendiğimiz şeyleri affetmemiz zaman da alıyor diye düşünüyorum. Ben kendi sürecimi yaşadığım için o süreçte bu haberi aldığımda hiçbir şekilde şeyi düşünmedim mesela. Bir süredir görmüyorum. Burada hata mı ettim gibi. Çünkü bu böyle yaşayamazdık ki zaten. Hani her an ölüm olacak veya bir şey olacak veya ciddi sağlık sorunları varmış gibi vedalaşamayız her gün birbirimizle. Böyle şeyler olur. Ölüm de herkesin başına zaten. O yüzden böyle sanırım burada toparlayacağım cümlelerimi. Sonra da soru alabilecek miyim emin değilim ama denerim. Şeyi özetlemek istiyorum açıkçası. Hayatta yaşadığımız şeyler, ya ben tiyatro okurken şeyi çok üzüyordu beni. İşte sanatçı dediğin acıdan beslenir vesaire gibi. Bugün bu sözü şöyle okumaya başlıyorum. Yani burada gerçek bir durum var ve buradan onu nasıl böyle kusmadan, ince ince işleyerek içimden hem duygularımı sağlıklı bir şekilde hem de kendimi gözeterek nasıl ele alabilirimi çok iyi öğretti bu proje. Son 2 haftam böyle geçti. Teşekkür ederim.
Thank you so much. I'm also sort of sitting with ways in which I know we keep going back to the beginning of our conversation with Juan, but this question of lightness coming in through the colorfulness of these images, exactly in relationship to the traumas that you've described, and the violence, right? The inflicted violence that you are describing. Also in regards to how you describe your own process starting to create as doodling, right? And this doodling starting as a response for you to violence. I think on a very visual language, I'm also very interested in, and this is one of the great things about having the work on Instagram and being able to zoom in, so to say, about all the small, very detailed, symbolic drawings, like the sort of white noise that we see in between the figures, right? Because often it's so obvious to draw immediately to the figures and to try and see what's happening here, or what do we see portrayed, because of this sort of focus on the personification. But I'm really interested in the noise kind of between the figures, and the symbols there, and also the way in which they're carefully drawn. And I'm curious if you wanted to say more about those parts of what you've contributed, of your work.
ADHD'm sağ olsun. Thanks to my ADHD, I lost the 70% of the question. But as like the doodles, I see them. Ay, İngilizceye geçtim ya. Gerçekten zihnim yorgun. Evet, o doodle'lara gelirsek orada biraz şeyi yakalamaya çalışıyorum gibi. Böyle uzak doğuda yapılan bir sanat sanki. Böyle kumları ufak kesip böyle biçe koskoca bir mandala yapıyorlar ve bu çok büyük bir sabır işi. Çok hani gerçekten çok büyük bir şey, minnacık bir şeye böyle bitmek, şey yapmak, onu böyle ince işlemek gibi. Duygularımızı da mesela adaletsizliğe duyduğumuz öfkeyi de bunu böyle kabaca dışarı çıkartabiliriz. Dışarı öfke olarak fırlatabiliriz. Veya işte tutabiliriz bunu dışarı. Ama bunu yapmak bana şeyi sağlayacak mı? Bu travmadan iyileşmemi sağlayacak mı? Yoksa gerçekten ince duygularımı işleyip okum gibi küçülte tutmam mı gerekiyor? Pardon. Böyle şeyler düşünerek doodle'lamaya devam etmiştim diyebilirim. Soruların kalanını unuttum. Daha da fazla soru cevaplayamayacağım galiba. Kusura bakmayın. Mümkün olduğunca takip etmeye çalışacağım kalanında. Herkesin emeğine sağlık. Diyorum herkese.
Thank you. I actually think that was a beautiful answer to the question. The way that you were saying, like, or should I deal with this violence broken down, fragmented, almost small doodling per doodling? So for me, at least, that was really, really beautiful to hear. This kind of breaking down of a larger violence that almost feels incomprehensible, but that then can become, in these very small, detailed doodlings, maybe something at least to comprehend with, or to just be with or live with. I would love to invite Sunny in with us. And I think, Sunny, hello.
Hello. Hi, Simon.
Hi.
Yeah.
It's very good to see you.
Lovely. Yeah.
Do you want to perform for us? I mean, I think you should first tell us a little bit about who you are, but I hope that you will perform for us.
Yes. So my name is Sunny. I am 24. I am a spoken word artist and a multidisciplinary artist. And I moved from the Gambia to the Netherlands, and that's where I live. And here I get to practice my art and explore and experiment with it. Yes.
And we, on the screen, we now see the poem that you have contributed, My Heart Is Now a Fist.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to say anything about it, Sunny, or do you just want to?
So I'll read the poem, and then from there, then I'll have a few more words to really say how it came into composition and what really went into it. And so the name of the poem is My Heart Is Now a Fist, which it is now. And the poem here goes. My porcelain heart is now the size of a fist, pulling the skin of every silence I have tamed. I am one and all of you crossing old streets to new shores, with wounds that drag the pains of yesterday to sit amongst us. The tides have rebelled against the land and all that stands in it, starves the people and their anthems, gift shackles on every tongues, rape us of our innocence. introduce our hearts to the Holocaust, conditions us to stitch our histories and bleach our truth. And in an attempt to embrace your debris, each of us drops a seed of hopelessness. And come to think of it, how do you beat us to death, then arrive at our funeral singing our praises? We, a nameless dream that belongs to no one, broken by being, striving to quench a war our hands have no makings of, a culture that has been handed down to the young like a second-hand fabric, to bind the loose threads and lay before the system a harvest of some hope. And suddenly our tongues speak a new language, stomping to erase ours. To belong, we must shed a skin, a form of gratification for the savior hands that feed us now. So we conceal our tears, learn to glitter our deteriorations with smiles. But the harvest of today still can't drown the ugly stings of yesterday. Our hearts still carry the weight of every loss we have witnessed. We have witnessed the beauty of time and the depletions of nations, forged new systems and dodged bullets, and still we run far, knowing that the fear we host within us isn't ours to carry. And again, we become angry. For who are we without our anger? Anger is good. Anger is so good to scatter when silence ferments. Anger gets the work done. On dark nights and lonely days, our eyes sing songs of resilience, and our hearts gather to cement the shaken nations that mourns afar. These places were once our home. And how does home become a thing? How does home become a stranger? Change its face before her people, sermon them to bleed, to shatter, to fear. God forbid. Fear will not be our future. We were born borderless, crossed bridges and deserts to salute the nameless. And our traumas will continue to sink us deeper. We have opened our old wounds to salt waters as we raise the refugee flags. So this is the poem.
Just clapping out loud.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah. So this poem is more so a retaliation of like my anger in a way, and having to really just take a lesson to what's really happening in the world, like all the chaos, like the earthquake in Turkey, and then of like the new legislation in Uganda, which still has like my mind on fire. And so I decided to just show a way in which the land retaliates on like the people who were born on it, and of like people who really just do not have like any sense to respect traffic lights, respect laws, but only who they are. It's more like conflicting with like the status quo of the places that they were fortunately or misfortunately raised into. So this poem was like a voice that that speaks for like the people who really do not have like that means to really stand for themselves in those situations, only to like subdue and then tame themselves for like the laws that have been like introduced to them. And this poem speaks of resilience, and it more like retaliates anger, but it's more like the kind of anger that is more like softened. I really just do not want to confront anger with anger. So even though this poem is angry, this poem brings in anger in a very soft way. So it's more like a communicative anger, because then I feel when we're angry and then we just tend to like weave our anger in a way of communication, then we can speak to the next person and possibly the next person could hear us. But in this poem, then it's more so of the land that we were born into cannot really host us for who we are. In the case of like the queer migrants from like Uganda. And so then you step into a new land where you hope to like build the essence of home. But then it takes time for home to really find you, or it takes time for you to really find home in a foreign place. And this poem also goes deeper in like saying how a language, someone else's language, becomes like your next language. And in order for you to really belong in that person's land, you have to like shed your skin, which is more like a form of gratification for like, I am really appreciative of like the gesture you've given me to really live here. and in order for me to live here, I have to like trade my heart for your anthem. And this poem just shows like the misfortune of like people who were born like underdeveloped nations, or like people who really come from places that are more so not listening to who they are, and not responsive to how they envision to live their lives. So this poem speaks of that anger. Yeah.
And thank you so much, Sunny. For you, I think there's two questions that immediately come to mind, which might be more in relationship to form, but
Yes.
still in regards to what you're sharing, and also specifically because we're sort of anger hopping, right? There's all of these different contexts to be angry about, so it's hard to maybe dive into each and every one of them. But the first would be in regards to language, whether for you, since we have, been experiencing today already like quite some translation challenges, but also, translation beauty, which I should also thank translators Damla and Buse. Thank you so much for being there with us. For you, is the English language, living in the Netherlands right now, does the English language feels like the most natural place to be angry? Does it matter? Are there different languages that you work in? And maybe completely tied to that, the question about performance, because I also know your work, Sunny, as a performance artist, and carrying the words in an embodied way. And of course, those who are not here tonight, but we'll just see your work on the Instagram page or on the website, they will see it as a text. So tied to this question of translation, right? Like, where does for you the body reside? I mean, immediately with the image of the fist and the heart, the body is present. I'm wondering if you want to share more about that. Oh, darling, you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now.
Yeah. Okay. So the English language is my third language. And then for me, it's quite, not very natural to really express anger in a language that I am still thriving into. And but then a lot of times when I think of situations, or when I think of like concepts to really write on, I think in my native language, which is more like Mandinka. And then from there, then I'm able to like translate that into English. And since I live in Holland for quite a long time now, for me, English is way more accessible to really communicate and then to really express myself through art. And this is more so a medium that I really try to break into, and to really see like the different avenues that it could really create for me. But it also more so, it's a challenge, because then I cannot really say everything in English as I would. And really depends on the people who really see like the references that I'm trying to make, and the people who really relate to the background that I come from, to really understand my work and to see like the direction in which it's leading. Yeah.
And for you, the question of performance and the embodiment, how does that come in for you?
I really do feel that by reading text, you do not get to like live that experience. It more so is when you have like the text, of course you give it your voice, and my performance is that very much more so with movement, and then with an atmosphere. So I really do feel in this way, I'm quite restricted in that way, that I'm really just not able to really give my words the magnanimity of its essence. And but yeah, I think for this project, what I could do was to really weave these words and then really see how well they reach out to the masses. And for the rest, possibly you get to see me perform somewhere. Yeah.
I think Zegishan also has a question for you.
Yeah.
Zegishan, do you want to share?
Yeah, sure. Actually, I said that we see how transitive the emotions are in this poem because you know, Sunny, your poem has a lot layer, emotional layer, and not about anger and justice only. And how is possible actually?
Do you mind to refer to say that again one more time?
Yeah, because we see lots of emotion, you know, your poem, and our theme this year, anger and justice. But you know, emotions are really transitive, and what can I say? Maybe explain that. Yeah, you know, you said the Thais have rebelled against the land and all that stands on it, and stirs the people and their anthems, gives shackles on every tongue.
Are you putting more like a linkage between anger, injustice, and emotion?
Yeah.
So I really do feel that these anger is a very provoking element, and so I really do feel that if anger is like presence, then there is a way in which that really translate into you getting yourself into an outpour of emotions, which this poem more like intends to also clear. And this poem, as much as just I think this, I just mentioned this poem is more like a poem of retaliation. It's more like silence could not do it for me, so I decided to speak to you about it. So let's say silence also does have a way of being emotional. I'm a very emotional person, and I am quite gobsmacked that you could pick that up from the poem itself. And I hope that somehow answers what you intend to ask. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Lovely. Yeah.
I think also, Sunny, what Zeki-chan's question kind of reiterated for me is an earlier question about the body in relationship to performance, which I'm gonna have to admit is also somewhat shaped by having met you several times, luckily, in person, right? Where I think the question about the body also relates to having met you and like experiencing you as a very gentle and kind energy. I'm sort of wondering, you know, how anger relates to that. If like anger for you is something that has to come through words.
Yeah. I think I do feel that I am multiple people living in one body. And so I write poetry under 3 different alter egos. And these are more like alter egos that I've built along my experience and I've built along my life as a way of a defensive mechanism. And when I write, my day-to-day face and self is like very much reserved and very much kind and submissive. But I think my writing or my art is like just a form of rebellion. So I tend to put a lot of anger, and I tend to put like a lot of my kept trauma, aggressions and anger into my work. And when I share that, that's when people really get to see like a different person, part of me, which was just not seen in like my typical normal day. And so anger for me, performance is more like an avenue to really harvest my anger and trauma. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Sunny. I would love to invite Lena Sons in with us.
Hello.
Hi, Lena.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Like,
Hello.
We can hear you well.
Okay, nice. I'm excited.
I would love to ask you too, Lena, whether you want to share a little bit about your practice, who you are as an artist, and then we'll go into your work.
Okay. My practice has changed so much over the years. Like I started doing like in quotes art when I was like 14. it was like back then it was only visuals, it was only like drawings, and I got into realism for some reason and trying to do something so realistic that all my power can do, and giving the effort, hours of efforts, made me, I don't know, relaxed and put me in a state of consciousness, I guess, to understand myself better, or just like get away from reality in some way. I was drawing realism to get away from reality. But after that, when I got into university, after I moved to Istanbul from Hatay, queer life began. For the first time in my life, I was like exposed to real human being queers, not just only Western media.
Yeah.
And I saw like local people that I loved and I admired. And back then I was really proud of my practice because like it was looking realistic and like I put a lot of effort in it, but it was really personal, only for me, but only for attention, but attention was for me anyway. And somehow I learned a lot about how to get attention through art and how to, how to catch my own attention and how to catch others' attention, because my own attention span is very small. And slowly I learned with visuals and then writing how to catch my own attention and put some like long hours of work into some practice of mine. And that's how I continued like the rest of the years. But after I came out as a trans woman, and at that point that it became really, I don't know, complicated, let's say. I stopped doing visual work like almost entirely, and I only did poems, stories, papers, research papers, like weird stuff that I wanted to talk about and I wanted to find out. And that was enough for me. That was like getting the enough of an attention from me and from other people that I loved. Yes, I am wearing the same dress. Wait, and there's like this. It looks so good. From Cuba. I'm gonna tell the story for this later. Wait. And this is the first time that I'm doing something visual, very, I don't know, enthusiastically, I guess, for the last like 3-4 years. So Through the Window just like got me riled up to do something about it. And I think it's now every layer of my practice, it is something back to connected visual and literature, I guess, written shit. And now I'm just trying to generally understand myself and trying to make people understand me, because somehow, delusionally maybe, I think I have every piece of everything in me, like even a small part, I have it in me. And if I understand it and I make people understand it, it feels good. That's it.
So
Right now I'm in Izmir, by the way. I'm
Sorry,
not in Istanbul anymore. And right now I'm in Izmir. For the last years, I've been living in Izmir.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
We're getting such a beautiful close-up of your nail.
Double die.
Yes. I mean, we gotta put a little bit more attention to the fact that you're wearing the dress that's in the image, in the painting, in the drawing, and that the drawing is also right behind you. I don't know if it is.
It is.
Yeah, meta.
Meta.
So this is also the image that you handed in as like a portrait, and then you started drawing on it. What does the process of drawing on an actual photograph of yourself do for you?
I think this is the first time I'm drawing myself, like self-portrait, this in this detail, and as me, not just as a small boy from high school. And I'm sorry for saying myself a boy and whatever. I thought of what I wanted to do. First, I started writing a story with along with this, and then the story of this dress is very, I don't know, it's not that complicated, but it's very meaningful for me, because when I moved from Istanbul to Izmir, to a village, to a small village of like 20 people, I was like very poor. I was very like, I don't know, couldn't afford to live, couldn't afford to feed myself, couldn't afford rent. It was like really fucked up situation for like 9 months. And then I had a friend called Aygün in the village, and she is a like 60 years old woman, like from like living in Izmir like the whole time, and she's like anarcho-socialist and very activist from like, I don't know, 80s. And like 20 years ago, she went to Cuba and got this, and she gifted this to me, and she helped a lot along the way in the village. And it's a very, I don't know, symbolic thing for me. And I knew that I wanted to draw myself, but in a combination with other people. Like this is an homage to my aunt who died in the earthquake, which I loved very dearly because she was like a mom. She was a mom as much as my own like biological mom, and it forced me to like think about my old life, like before transition life, which I deleted from my mind because like travesty problems, I guess. Like we delete the rest of our lives mostly. And then I collaborated with one of my friends. I think he's here, 𝘮𝘪𝘏𝘮𝘪𝘏𝘮. Yeah, he's here. And he lived with me in the village for a while in the first like months. And I want to like collaborate with him because he's a photographer and a cinematographer as well. And we did a photo shoot. I wanted this, and he got the lighting and he got the shots, and then I started drawing. That's it. Like after the photo shoot, I knew exactly what I was gonna do and exactly how I was gonna do it. It just took time. I put maybe 50 hours of maybe more than 50 hours of time into this drawing over the 2 months, and that 50 hours was the relationship with me, I guess.
I mean, as 𝘰🕬 was so smart to zoom in on the devil eye, you know, like the sort of the evil eye. You wrote beautifully, I think, as a description to your painting, that I'm going to paraphrase,
Okay.
that the glances or the gazes, back to the Kate Blanchett moment of the gaze, not the gaze, is sort of returned, right? It's like those eyes that you have been ignoring and those voices that you have been ignoring will turn onto you. There's a revengefulness to your painting, which of course we can see in the eyes. Now we zoom out again and see your eyes. This sort of like, I was gonna say resting bitch face.
A little bit.
Like, you know, like wait and see.
Yeah, wait and see. Spite. Like, in Turkish, kin, like kin means spite in English. Kin, spite is a very strong word for me because the whole time I was getting better because I don't know, 8-9 months earlier, I was like incredibly delusional because I was incredibly like on psychiatric drugs, and I couldn't think of anything. I couldn't remember my childhood. I was like very suicidal, and my life was just like in ruins, and only thing that I could feel was hate, and like I was very angry at everyone, but I was very cheerful at the same time for some fucking reason, I don't know. And at some point I stopped all of the medications like this, and I swallowed all of my hate. I had to swallow it, and since then, like I'm trying to be calm. I'm not that calm. I have a lot of anger issues. Still, I'm trying to be calm. But the general idea of the glands, like right now, I'm holding all of the hate in me, so that I can get better, so that I can get like a little bit better life standards, so that I can survive. And I just moved like 15 days ago in a good house, and I'm very happy right now, and I'm very like nice, and I'm working and such. And I'm just like waiting and working and just like putting the effort in quotes because I have to for some reason again. And I'm waiting for that hate to become real, the outside world. And at some point I noticed that if you communicate hate and anger or rage without any power on your hands, it just becomes hurtful to you, not anyone else. Because with the rage I got, I want to hurt somebody else that hurt me before, like not somebody else's, I guess, some other things, not just the system, but some people, some other organizations, some other like weird systems, I guess. But without any power in your hand and without any living standards, even the base, like bare minimum, that hate and or anger just hurts me. I don't want it to hurt me. I just want to hurt somebody else. And I'm waiting for that spite to be ripe so that it can become hate, so that I can get revenge, so that we can get revenge, all of us, so that we can get revenge. Because I don't want it to be peaceful, to be honest. I don't want it to be, oh, thank you for giving us rights. Thank you for giving me food. Like, I don't want to be this. I don't know when I'm gonna become a normal human being in the standards of Earth, that I'm gonna have some power to express my hate or my rage. I'm waiting. I have time. I'm living. I'm not suicidal anymore.
I love that, and I think that spite is so often seen as a kind of like that you shouldn't admit to that, right? I also want to, before we go on with 𝘠𝘩𝘬 and then Pamina, and then we are closing but opening to the DJs, I want to invite Juan in, who has a question for you as well. I don't know if Juan wants to say it himself.
Of course, sure. Yeah, it's for you,
Yes,
Lina. Okay, sorry. I work a lot with my own image, through my films, because as an artist, the only thing that we have for sure is our body, right? It's ours, despite what society says. And I was curious to know if it was a difficult process to you to confront and examine yourself, your image through this work. I use my works to work through my traumas since I can afford a therapist. So it's always like, I detached myself from my image through my work, I was wondering if you have this thought of you went through the same process.
There's a big layer of like body embodiment, yes. I guess, body acceptance to it.
Yeah.
Because I wrote a story to submit to the window, but like I didn't like it in the end. It was a murder story and a love story and together, not a romance. I like love towards my aunt and murder towards the man I hate. It's like a masticide. It's not a femicide, but it's like a masticide done by a trans feminine person. And I didn't like it, but there's a quote in it that I love, like describing my aunt, which is like looks a lot like me. I'm not gonna lie. She's very tall. She's very like chubby. She's very muscly. She's very strong. All of her life, she's been very big. My whole family is like mostly big, but I'm 187. I'm like 94 kilos, I guess, right now. And this is the first time I am eating healthy. I don't have an eating disorder about being skinny. And I described my aunt as so butch, but so gracious at the same time. And I love that for me because I'm very butch. I'm a very butch woman, I think. But I'm very gracious at the same time, which I love. And I didn't even think that I would, I don't know, empathize with that wording towards my like aunt. And after I asked my mom for my aunt's photos, because I didn't have any photos of her, like new photos. I just had her old like vintage photos that I took photos of, but I didn't have any new photos because I haven't seen her in the last 2 years. But like right now, I am very proud of my body. I already like my body, but I'm very proud of it because it looks like my aunt, and she was a single woman all her life. she died at like 64, and I don't know, I'm okay with this. I'm very proud of this, and this is like 70%, I guess, an homage to my aunt, but I don't know.
So wonderful. We're screaming over here about your butch womanhood. This is a nail clap that Kubra
I want my nails as well. I had to remove my prosthetic nails because I needed to rent the new house.
Darling, my nails are yours.
Thank you.
Those are your nails. Our nails.
Our nails. They are there. I had to cosplay as a man to be able to rent the house, because if they see a trans woman or a transvestite in general, they wouldn't rent the house because they would think that I'm gonna run a brothel, which I could still. And I had to cosplay as a man, and I removed all of them. I'm still in the again slowly retransitioning in the whole apartment building so that nobody notices how much of a whore I am. But like the nails are gonna come back.
I'm very happy that you found housing and that the nails can come back.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Too.
Ishik can we get you in? Hello. And Pamina, if you're there, can you give me a second?
Wait.
Sorry.
Yes, I can. Wait.
Oh, you're muted, dear.
Okay. I'm kind of nervous. Hello, everyone. Bonsoir tout. I'm Ishik. I'm 24 years old and I come from Turkey, and I'm currently continuing my art in Switzerland, 𝘮𝘪𝘏𝘁. Little bit short instruction or introduction.
Thank you. You have contributed this work that we are now seeing.
Yes.
Maybe you want to share with us, maybe to start very simply, to just share what it is that we're seeing according to you, that we look with your eyes.
Yes. How could I describe it? Anger and justice, colère justice, is my subject. If you follow me on Instagram, I've been very furious bitches. There is so many things I was angry about when I was in Turkey. Like from how do I say that? For example, like my community, the racism in my community in general, and the ableism in my community, in my trans community, as in general, like I couldn't stand it. It feels like I feel a lot of anger inside me since when I was a child, because as I'm a disabled trans woman, as an autistic trans woman with ADHD, I see the injustices so clearly from my eyes, and it makes me really angry in intersectional level, and it's still 2023, and we couldn't understand the intersectional injustices. And it hurts me so bad. And like when sometimes I like discuss about autism and TDAH, ADHD, it feels like I'm feel alone, like nobody understands the aspect, like physical and the mental aspects that autism and TDAH / ADHD brings as a trans woman, and I didn't accept my autistic identity when I was I don't know 21 or 22, when I understand my autism and my TDAH, ADHD, I much more feel comfortable, and I understand I'm actually a trans woman. And like when I'm blabbering a lot, so sorry for that, désolé. When I like in my community and outside my community, I feel a lot of anger when it comes for like perspective. When in my community, I'm not feeling like queer enough for my community. Like, am I representing my queerness enough, or represent my transness enough for them? And outside my community, also, I feel like when it comes to my womanhood, I cannot represent my womanhood enough, like, because I had the suicidal episodes. I attempted suicide a couple times, and I harm myself a lot, cut myself, and like just burned myself with cigarettes a lot. And like I still feel angry because people still to this day don't understand what I'm going through, and like think like a spoiled girl, or a girl who swears a lot about nonsense. But I was angry, and the swearing or using swears as like stimulant to my anger, and like, and how could I imagine it expresses like people are just so in the background. It expresses like people are so apathetic about the current situations, but I see them clearly, but it's like I mask a lot of the things, like the glasses here just stabbed in me. Like I see from them, like it's just like when I see these injustices, it makes me feel angry. I need to speak about it, and like it's still like just like glasses are just like stabbed in my stomach or my chest or my leg. I still feel like that way still in this current situation of Turkey when I see it. Like there's so many things. I just try to pack it up, but in this painting, and I kept the inscription of the painting short, because I don't want to people, when the viewer depend on the inscription. I want to other people's experience my anger and how I feel when it comes to injustices happens around the world, and also includes Turkey as well, especially. So that's how I actually express how I feel about when it comes to how I feel angry about injustices happening around the world and Turkey, especially in Turkey.
Yeah, I think it's, I mean, at least to me, when first seeing the painting, it's very clear also like that there's almost, as you're speaking to it now, right, like that there's almost like such an abundance to the different feelings of, or sorry, the different stabs, the different shards of glass that are entering. There's so many different violations that it's almost becoming hard to name the differentiation to them. That's at least how I first interpreted the painting. When I saw it, there's like all of these different shards, and they're sort of distinctable because, you know, you could see maybe that, oh yeah, there's one shard of glass, there's another one, or there's another sort, but they also become too many almost to speak of. Did you want to say something about the masks in the background?
Yeah, I actually, it's feeling everyone has a mask about something. I always suspect like people hide something behind those masks, and like there's something sketchy. You feel there is something sketchy, but you cannot see it clearly when it comes to when you look at those masks. Like there's something sketchy, there's something creepy, like there's something like makes you feel something not comfortable when you look at those masks. But it is, but you don't know what it is, or where does it come from. Like it gives you like a skepticism about those, like it represents outside from the community and the inside of the community. Like I seen a lot outside of my community, like when I express my queerness and my autism, I like when I see like express those autistic traits and like queerness to them, they don't express anything, but they just like look at you in like suspicious way. They could be embarrassed about secondhand embarrassment, like they cringe, they're like, or just have something idea in their head. And also I see those kind of masking and like pathetic eyes in other inside my community as well, when I just try to fit in as a disabled trans woman. Like it represents how I see others outside and inside my community as a disabled trans woman.
Yeah, I very much can resonate with the inside and outside, and the puncturing of the inside and the outside, both in the masks as well as in the open woundedness of the figure portrayed. Thank you so much, 𝘠𝘩𝘠. There's also some love for you in the chat by several people.
And by me.
Pamina is here. Wonderful. Pamina, can we close the conversation with you tonight?
Well, that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And can I yes, hi everyone. Can I be honest? I was struck by the amount of, not even struck, I mean, it's just like the amount of trauma and pain throughout this conversation. I don't know how to like resume it as such. And it's, I know, okay, never mind. Let's talk about the work, and then maybe we're gonna have other spaces to talk more about what it means to. I have so many questions around all the works, not the works, but some of the things that really made me reflect around what are we calling love when we propose as love is a new imagination. Also because when it comes to community, we also feed in a certain type of love. And is it possible for love to be tangible, to be something that we materialize? Because right now I feel like we talk about it as, again, as an imagination. And sometimes when you struggle on a daily basis, it's difficult for us to reinvent what we call love. And then this whole idea of community, I don't know, on a personal level, I had to create my own queer family because we don't have enough space to truly discuss what is community, what are we calling community, and how do we go about on changing what the community became, which is also a very toxic space, is also a very violent space, and we can become violence within that space. Going through my work, for me, I don't know if I'm going to talk about my work right now. It's just, I was very excited it was difficult to do this work. I was kind of lost. Because I was stuck in thinking that I had to do the same thing that I was doing. I work with my body as well, my naked body. And as also, I work with drawing, video, so many other things, which in the context of Angola, it's pretty damn disruptive. And then I wanted to do something with my hands. So that's why I did something like with my hands that kind of made me touching the ink, sew everything and experiment with other things. And I wanted to make my mushrooms and this new imagination something that can become from my hands. So that's why I did this work. And because also maybe going back to kind of interlinking with our conversation, because also I feel a lot of pain and loneliness and going to trauma. I'm not going to share a lot of personal traumatic story, and I'm already almost crying because I think we need like a therapeutic, like a space that can hold those feelings. And there's not enough support group, and also I don't want to like turn off this conversation and then just decide to go buy beer because I need to cope with whatever I had to share here. So yeah, so linking to all the conversations we had, for me, my work has been kind of questioning the categories that made us not exist. So for me, it has been questioning what are we calling a Black, what are we calling gender binary, what are we calling even queer? So all of these questions are, these categories are things that were inscribed in us, and we kind of still feed the machinery. So my body is at my work is a dismantle of the body as a tool of the machinery, to be honest. And by dismantling the body, it's also dismantling these boxes, not only questioning, but also saying, if I move that, what is it, or what is going to happen? But at the same time, what I'm showing you, it's a proposition of, can we transmute to something else? Or if we transmute for something else to something else, is that going to be the new body? Is it possible for other corporeal ways of existing to be called the body, or are we gonna just replicate whatever we done with this idea of body? But it's both a new way of not reinventing, but imagining other ways of existence. And to be honest, all my dreams has been with mushrooms. And I'm actually in Angola, and I'm gonna be traveling the whole country with a project around food and decolonizing foods as a cultural archive, and collect a lot of information about the mushrooms and engaging with communities about that. So I'm pretty excited. So my work is very research-based as part of my gender and sexuality activism in Rwanda. Not only in Rwanda, but in the country, but also in the Southern African region. It's what kind of informs some of the questions that I have as part of being a person who is part of collectives, a person who's trying to heal from all of this trauma. So the work is called Whispers, because I'm also trying to recognize that people, my ancestors maybe have been spoken to me, to my dreams, and kind of giving me this new visions of what can my body transmute into. So I'm just gonna stop there. So yeah.
I think,
Thank you.
Pamina, thank you so much. There's so much to say, as you said, and I think that you basically guided us into the problem that we will leave each other with tonight, which is that there's so much that is left unaddressed, and I think that there are so many questions that you all could have asked each other. And I think, for me at least, this is a question that I take from tonight, is that, so one thing that we try to do with these themes, right, is with the anger and justice theme, for example, when we have the exhibition, is not to make any broad or universal or overview statements about the themes anger and justice. And that's kind of how we allowed for tonight to be such a chaotic coherence of different stories, different works, different languages to come together. But I also want to recognize that at the same time, that can also lead to a kind of loneliness of us now sitting with everything that has been shared and not having space to interweave basically the different threads, the different works, and the different embodiments and experiences that have been entering in this space. So I just want to acknowledge that, and also acknowledge that this is a discussion for us at Through the Window all the time. Whether should we continue talking or should we leave the conversation the moment that we actually want to start talking, and leave those conversations sort of resonate with us in spaces that are not recorded. And one of the choices that we make for these kind of conversations is to, instead of continuing the conversation, to dance together. And to have that be a form of unpoliced or unsurveilled hanging out, right? Where now that we are inviting our DJs in, recognizing again that so many things have been left unaddressed, so to say. We hope that with the dancing that is now coming, hopefully for us in all of our different spaces, people can still gossip with each other in the chat room, a direct message to each other, or in the open chat space, ask each other questions or send each other love. And then I hope that as a form is only a start of what we can continue with. Does that sound good? I'm sort of, I know that this is a form that we have chosen, but I also kind of am desiring your consent over there.
I mean, yeah, it sounds good. It's always the balance, you know. We had this deep conversation and we're gonna dance. It sounds good. And I know you always have this idea of creating other spaces for us to continue the conversation. So I know we are not gonna stop here, because sometimes, oh shit. Sometimes you start
We are right here with you, Pamina. Really. You're not alone, for real.
sorry guys, sorry. So sometimes we start conversations that we don't continue. So I know that you are open for us to continue this conversation. So that's what I wanted to say.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just joining you with the silence. And resonating what Juan says. We're right here with you. And I think in so many ways, for me, it brings back also what Juan started the night with, the way in which love can come from violence, right? And how it's so deeply intertwined that I'm also internally already pushing back against the desire to apologize for like DJs, you know, as if music or like an embodiedness of happiness or celebration is not simultaneously also an intimate and proximate way of being with the tears. So there's a lot there.
Yeah, that's like we are making a little family here, you know. We are together here today. We left things to do later to be able to be here to support each other, and really, it's just like I feel safe. I mean, with you guys, and I'm kind of choking up a little bit too, because I feel Pamina. I feel Pamina's pain and her desire to, you know, to make it work, to make life work, you know, and it's difficult, and violence and brutality and trauma and love and anger and all of these things together, they all make us feel so powerless sometimes. And it's good to know that we are connected, you know, through our distance and time. You know, we are in such different places, living through so many different things, so many different forms of violence. And you know, it's nice to know that we are here and we are not alone, like at all, really.
And on that note, I just want to thank Damla and Buse for translating tonight, and Zeki-chan for doing everything. as always. And Ote, Omer, of course, and Kubra here right next to me. And I think I'm just recognizing the labor that goes into it and recognizing the labor that has to be ongoing in order to, like Pamina said, like they said, continue this conversation. And I'm really happy to hear, Pamina, that you trust from your previous experience that we will continue the conversation together. And I'm also, we don't always do this because it always feels a little bit like we're complying or being the good subject. But in that sense, I also really want to thank 𝘮𝘪𝘴 here with Prince Claus Fund, because we have already been told that we can continue for another year at least. And, the material side of this is just so important to be able to support this and ongoingness. So Pamina already started dancing, I see. So Kubra, do you want to invite the DJs in?
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. And now 𝘕𝘦 from Rotterdam is going to start to dance and let us dance with them, with him, and then Mustafa S from Turkey, and finally 𝘮𝘩𝘦𝘐𝘪𝘴 from Turkey is going to join us. And yeah, dances, celebration, and it's like tears, love, and everything in between the songs, tracks, and dance. What can I say more? Like I always take celebration as also a grief, as also sharing and abandoning, to continue anything we have instead of everything and anything in between. So yeah, thank you everyone and our magnificent artists for their magnificent existences and creations. And thank you everyone who joined us, who embodied us during our last 3 months and today. And yeah, thank you really, thank you Zekican, Öte, and thank you Damla and Buse and everyone again. And yeah, if 𝘕𝘦 is ready, we can start with 𝘕𝘦, our party section. Then we will continue with Mustafa S and 𝘮𝘩 later on. And thank you everyone. Thank you, Simon.
Yeah.
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Really, thank you so much.
Thank you, Juan. Thank you, darling. 𝘕𝘦, darling, are you here around? Yes, you are. Hi, say hi to everyone, 𝘕𝘦.
Hi guys.
Hello.
I think I'm ready to start. Yeah.
Okay, I want to just say something. Meus amigos do Brasil que estão assistindo, muito obrigado pelo apoio. I just wanted to thank my friends from Brazil who came to the YouTube live and are following us here. So that's what I said in Portuguese. Let's boogie.
Yes.
Yo, where you think you're going?
What do you mean where I think I'm going, honey? I'm going out with the guys. I thought I told you.
Oh, yeah, and guess who's coming with you?
I can't take you with me, honey. It'll be embarrassing,
What do you mean
guys are not
embarrassing?
taking that girl.
I don't care who's taking her.
I promise that I'll take you out tonight.
Go with your boys. But guess what? You better be back by. Where you think you're going?
Sana link göndereyim gir oraya ama senin yüklemen lazım. Falan.